Imagine waking up one day, realizing that everything you've ever wanted, happiness, success, confidence, love, financial freedom, is already within your reach, if only you knew how to unlock it. That's what Tony Robbins teaches in his legendary book, Awaken the Giant Within. It's not just another self-help book. It's a manual for mastering your emotions, rewiring your habits, and taking full control of your destiny. So, grab your notepad, because in the next 20 minutes, we're going to break down how you can awaken the giant within you. Have you ever felt like your life is just happening to you? Like no matter how hard you try, things stay the same. Your habits, your results, your emotions? Tony Robbins begins Awaken the Giant Within with one powerful truth. It is in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. He says every single thing in your life, your happiness, your success, your health, your relationships, all of it began with a decision. Think about it. The decision to study or skip, to quit or to try again, to say I can or I can't. Every decision you've made till now has built the life you're living today. And here's the twist. The quality of your life tomorrow will depend on the decisions you make today. Tony says, most people want to change, but they never decide to. They say things like, I'll start eating healthy next week. I'll save money when I earn more. Someday I'll follow my dream. But someday asterisk is not a day on the calendar. He reminds us that a true decision means cutting yourself off from any other possibility. In fact, the Latin root of the word decide literally means asterisk to cut off. When you truly decide, you burn the bridge behind you. You tell yourself, no matter what, I'll find a way. That's how all great success stories begin, with one bold decision. Tony breaks another illusion, the idea of luck. He says people often look at successful individuals and think, asterisk, they're lucky. But luck has nothing to do with it. Behind every lucky break is a decision that person made long before anyone noticed. It was the decision to take action when others hesitated, the decision to stay consistent when it got boring, the decision to believe when others doubted. Every overnight success you see took years of consistent decision-making. Here's where most people get stuck. They confuse deciding with wanting. Saying, I want to lose weight. Asterisk is not a decision. A decision sounds like, I'm starting my workout today no matter what. Saying, I want to start a business someday. Asterisk is just a wish. A decision sounds like, I'm researching my business idea tonight. Tony says, desire is weak, but decision is power. The moment you make a true decision, your brain starts working on solutions instead of excuses. Tony explains that decision-making is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. But most people let others decide for them. Society, friends, family, even fear. To awaken your inner giant, you must take back control of your decisions. He gives 3 steps. 1. Decide what you really want. Asterisk, asterisk. Be specific. Don't say, I want a better life. Say, I want to earn this much. Live here. Feel this way. 2. Commit to it 100%. No backup plans. When you burn your boats, your only direction is forward. 3. Take immediate action. Don't wait for confidence or clarity. Both come after you act. Every small decision you make consistently moves you closer to your giant within. Tony encourages readers to reflect on their past. Think about 3 decisions that have shaped your life the most. Maybe it was a choice to end a toxic relationship, or the decision to start something new, or the choice to give up on something too early. Each of those moments changed your direction. Now imagine, what if you had decided differently? Your life would look completely different today. That's how powerful one single decision can be. Tony gives countless real-life examples, from people who were broke and hopeless, yet turn their lives around simply by deciding to take charge. He says, the moment you truly decide, not wish, not hope, but decide that your life will be different, that's the moment everything changes. Because when you commit, the universe responds. Opportunities appear, people show up, Ideas flow, but none of that happens until you take that first step. Decide. Every joy, every struggle, every success, every failure, all of it traces back to a chain of choices. And that's empowering, because if your past decisions built this life, your new decisions can build a new one. Tony says, you and I have the power to change our lives right now. Not next month, not next year, not someday, but right now, in this very moment. You don't need a miracle. You just need to decide and then follow through. Tony Robbins begins Awaken the Giant Within by teaching us that decisions are the ultimate power. Not luck, not fate, not conditions, but decisions. When you finally make a real decision and commit to it with your heart and soul, your life begins to move in a new direction. Every person you admire started with that one moment of clarity, that one bold choice. And so can you. You've learned that your destiny begins with decisions. But have you ever wondered why we sometimes make the wrong ones, or fail to follow through even when we know what's right? In the next chapter, Tony reveals the hidden force that controls every decision we make. A force stronger than logic, stronger than willpower, the force of pain and pleasure. Are you ready to discover how it secretly shapes your life? Why do we do what we do? Why do we repeat habits we know are bad for us, like procrastinating, overeating, or giving up too early, even when we know we shouldn't? Tony Robbins says the answer is simple, yet powerful. Every action you take is driven by one invisible force, the need to avoid pain or to gain pleasure. That's it. No matter who you are, what you want, or where you come from, your brain is always trying to protect you from pain and move you toward pleasure. This is the force that shapes your life. Tony explains it like this. Everything we do, whether it's chasing a dream, ending a relationship, starting a new habit, or avoiding a task, is based on how our brain has linked pain and pleasure. For example, why do people stay in jobs they hate? Because their brain links more pain to leaving, fear of failure, rejection, or uncertainty, than to staying unhappy. And why do people suddenly change their entire lifestyle after a health scare? Because the pain of staying unhealthy has become greater than the pain of change. Pain and pleasure are the twin engines that drive every human decision. Tony says our entire nervous system is like a learning machine. Whenever we experience something painful or pleasurable, our brain records it. Over time, it builds emotional connections, or what Tony calls neuroassociations. Here's the key. We don't act based on what's true. We act based on what we associate with pain or pleasure. For example, someone might associate exercise with pain. It's hard, it's tiring, and associate watching TV with pleasure. It relaxes me. So even though they know exercising is good, they'll choose the couch every time. Real change happens when you retrain your brain to switch those associations. Tony introduces a method called neuroassociative conditioning, NAC. It's a way to train your brain to link pleasure to new empowering habits and pain to old destructive ones. He gives a simple process. Identify the habit or behavior you want to change. Let's say you want to stop procrastinating. Link massive pain to the old habit. Visualize the pain it causes. Lost opportunities, stress, guilt, failure. Link massive pleasure to the new habit. Feel the freedom, pride, and confidence that come with taking action. Condition it repeatedly. The more emotion you add, the faster your brain rewires itself. Once your brain emotionally connects pleasure to doing something positive, you won't need willpower anymore. You'll want to do it naturally. Tony shares that every major breakthrough in life comes when we reach a threshold, a moment when we say, I've had enough. I can't live like this anymore. That's the instant when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of change. Maybe it's when someone finally quits an addiction, or decides to start that business, or walks away from a toxic relationship. That's not random. It's when the emotional scale finally tips, when you associate massive pain with your old life and massive pleasure with your new one. You will change. Tony reminds us that these associations aren't rational. You might fear public speaking because your brain linked it with embarrassment years ago. Or you might overspend because your brain links shopping with comfort and pleasure. But the great news is, you can rewrite those links. He says, nothing in life has any meaning except the meaning you give it. When you take charge of the meanings you attach to experiences, you take charge of your emotions and your destiny. Tony gives a simple exercise anyone can try right now. List 3 habits you want to stop, e.g., procrastinating, smoking, scrolling too much on your phone. Write down the pain these habits have caused you. Be brutally honest. Health, confidence, time, money, relationships, list it all. Now list 3 habits you want to start, e.g., exercising, reading daily, saving money. Write down the pleasure these habits will bring. Imagine the results. How amazing it will feel. This simple act begins to rewire your mind, because your focus shifts from short-term comfort to long-term joy. Tony says, if you truly want to change your life, you must understand and control what you link pain and pleasure to. If you link pleasure to destructive habits, you'll sabotage yourself again and again. But if you learn to link massive pleasure to growth, learning, and discipline, success becomes automatic. The secret of success, Tony says, is learning how to use pain and pleasure instead of having pain and pleasure use you. Every human decision, big or small, is controlled by 2 forces, pain and pleasure. Whatever you link pain to, you'll avoid. Whatever you link pleasure to, you'll seek. The key to transformation is changing those links consciously. When you connect pain to old habits and pleasure to positive ones, your behavior changes naturally. That's how you take back control of your life. Not through force, but through emotional reprogramming. Now that you understand how pain and pleasure drive every action, there's still one question left. If you can control your behavior, why do you still sometimes feel stuck, like something deep inside you keeps holding you back? In the next chapter, Tony reveals the real root of that invisible resistance: your beliefs. They're powerful enough to build your dreams or silently destroy them. So, are you ready to find out how your beliefs control your life and how to change them forever? What if the biggest limits in your life aren't real at all? What if they're just stories? Stories you've been telling yourself for years, and now you believe them as truth. Tony Robbins says in Awaken the Giant Within, beliefs have the power to create and the power to destroy. Your beliefs shape your perception. Your perception shapes your decisions. And your decisions shape your destiny. So if you want to change your life, you must first change what you believe to be true. Tony explains it simply. A belief is nothing but a feeling of certainty about what something means. For example, if you believe you're good at learning new things, you'll try, you'll grow, and you'll succeed. But if you believe I'm just not a smart person, your brain will shut down before you even start. Both are beliefs. One empowers you, the other limits you. And here's the truth. Neither is 100% real. They're just meanings you've attached to your past experiences. Tony says our beliefs are built through 5 main sources. Environment, what you grew up seeing, hearing, and experiencing. If your family struggle with money, you might believe money is hard to get. Events, powerful emotional moments, good or bad, can create lifelong beliefs. One failure might make you believe, I'm not good enough. Knowledge, what you've learned or read repeatedly shapes your worldview. Past results, if you succeeded at something, you may believe you can do it again. Imagination, even things you imagine strongly enough can form a belief. The more emotion you attach to an experience, the deeper that belief becomes rooted. Tony says the scariest prison in the world isn't made of walls. It's made of limiting beliefs. You can't see the bars, but you live inside them every day. Beliefs like, I'm not confident enough. People like me don't succeed. I'm too old to start over. It's just the way I am. Each of these thoughts quietly destroys potential, because once you believe something is impossible, your brain stops looking for solutions. The good news? Beliefs can be changed, replaced, and rebuilt. Tony says, If you can create a belief, you can destroy it. Empowering beliefs sound like, every challenge makes me stronger. Failure is my greatest teacher. I can learn anything if I commit. There's always a way. These beliefs give you energy, courage, and hope, even when things are tough. The secret is to make these empowering beliefs feel more real than your fears. Tony gives a practical way to break limiting beliefs and install new ones. Step 1. Identify the limiting belief. Ask yourself, what's really stopping me? What story am I telling myself about why I can't? Write it down, face it. Step 2. Challenge its power. Question it like a lawyer. Is this absolutely true? Who told me this? Has anyone with my situation succeeded before? When you start poking holes in a belief, it begins to lose its strength. Step 3. Replace it with a new, empowering belief. Decide what you want to believe instead. Say it, feel it, visualize it every day. Then take small actions that prove it's true. Your brain learns through evidence. The more proof you create, the stronger the new belief becomes. Tony uses a great metaphor. Think of each belief as a tabletop, supported by legs underneath it. Each leg is a reference, an experience, memory, or piece of evidence that proves that belief. If you want to destroy a limiting belief, kick out its legs, question the evidence. And if you want to build a new belief, start adding strong legs, new experiences, new proof, new actions. That's how you rebuild your belief system from the ground up. Tony says emotions don't come from reality. They come from what we believe about reality. For example, if you believe someone ignored you, you feel hurt. But if you believe they were just busy, you stay calm. The same event, different belief, different emotion. Change your belief, and your emotional world transforms instantly. Tony shares that every transformation, every success story, starts when someone changes a belief about what's possible. The Wright brothers believed humans could fly. Thomas Edison believed he could create light. Nelson Mandela believed in freedom even inside a prison cell. And you, the moment you decide to believe that you can, your brain starts finding ways to make it happen. Belief is the seed that turns dreams into reality. Beliefs are powerful. They shape how you think, feel, and act. Limiting beliefs keep you trapped. Empowering beliefs set you free. You can change any belief by questioning its truth and replacing it with a stronger, positive one. The more emotional proof you attach to a new belief, the faster your mind accepts it. Remember, the only thing keeping you from what you want is the story you keep telling yourself. Tony Robbins. So now you know how your beliefs shape your destiny. But here's a powerful question. Even after changing your beliefs, why do you sometimes slip back into old emotions or negative moods so easily? In the next chapter, Tony reveals the secret tool that controls your emotional direction every single day. What if the quality of your life depends on just one thing? The questions you ask yourself. Let's find out in the next chapter. What if I told you the difference between feeling confident or powerless, successful or stuck, often comes down to the questions you ask yourself every single day? Tony Robbins says, questions are the laser of human consciousness. They focus your mind, they control your emotions, and they silently shape the direction of your life. Whether you realize it or not, the quality of your life depends on the quality of your questions. Tony explains that our brains are like supercomputers. They're constantly searching for answers, but the questions we ask are the commands we give them. If you ask a weak question like, why does this always happen to me? Your brain will find a negative answer, because you're not good enough. But if you ask an empowering question like, what can I learn from this? Your brain instantly starts searching for solutions and growth. So the question isn't, will your brain find answers? It's, are you asking the right questions? Whatever you focus on, you feel. If you focus on your problems, you'll feel stress. If you focus on solutions, you'll feel empowered. Tony says, successful people ask better questions, and as a result, they get better answers. Let's test it right now. Ask yourself, what am I grateful for today? Your mind immediately starts searching for good things. Maybe your health, your family, your dreams. Notice how your emotion shifts instantly. That's the magic of questions. They change your focus, and your focus changes your feelings. Tony says everyone has a few habitual questions, thoughts that play like background music in the mind. For example, some people constantly ask, what's wrong with me? Others ask, how can I make things better? Some ask, why am I always so unlucky? Others ask, what can I do to turn this around? These repeated questions shape your daily emotions without you even realizing it. So if you're feeling stuck, it's time to change your mental questions. Tony shares a simple exercise that anyone can try. Take a notebook and write down your most common thoughts or self-talk. Then identify the questions hiding inside them. Example, I never have enough time. Hidden question, why don't I ever have time? Replace it with, how can I make time for what truly matters? Another one, I'm terrible at saving money. Hidden question, why can't I manage money? Replace it with, how can I start managing my money better today? Just one change in wording transforms your focus from blame to empowerment, from limitation to possibility. Tony introduces a powerful tool called the Morning Power Questions. He says, the way you start your day decides how you live your day. So instead of checking your phone or thinking about problems, ask these questions every morning. What am I happy about in my life right now? What am I proud of right now? What am I grateful for? What am I committed to? What do I love? Ask them with energy, emotion, and curiosity. Your mind will begin scanning your life for good things, and your state will rise instantly, because gratitude and happiness don't come from having more. They come from focusing on what's already there. Life will always have challenges, but Tony says, problems aren't what break you. It's how you question them. Next time you face a problem, instead of asking, why me? Try these. What's great about this problem? What can I learn here? What's not perfect yet? And how can I make it better? What am I willing to do to make it the way I want? What am I willing to no longer do that keeps me stuck? When you ask these questions, you instantly shift from a victim mindset to a creator mindset. Tony explains that your emotions don't just happen. They're triggered by what you focus on. And your focus is shaped by your questions. If you keep asking, why am I not happy? Your brain will find reasons to feel sad. But if you ask, what can I do right now to feel happy? Your brain will search for actions that lift your spirit. Your emotions follow your questions like shadows follow light. So if you want to master your emotions, master your questions first. Tony once coached a man who was constantly angry at his job. When Tony asked him what questions he asked himself daily, the man said, what's going to go wrong next? That one question created daily stress and tension. Tony told him to change it to, what can I do to make today amazing? Just that one shift, one question, completely changed how he felt about his work. Because our emotions are never about events. They're about how we interpret those events. Tony says your mind will always look for something to chew on. So give it quality food. If you feed it toxic questions, you'll feel toxic emotions. If you feed it empowering questions, you'll feel energy, confidence, and control. Remember, ask and you shall receive. That's not just a spiritual law. It's a psychological truth. Questions control focus. Focus controls emotions, and emotions control life. The questions you ask daily determine whether you feel strong or weak. Change your habitual questions, and your entire emotional world will transform. Start every day by asking powerful, positive, and grateful questions. Because when you direct your mind with intention, your life follows. Now you know that questions shape your emotions and decisions. But here's something deeper. Even when you ask great questions, sometimes emotions still overpower you. Why? Because emotions have their own language, their own triggers, and if you don't control them, they control you. In the next chapter, Tony reveals the art of mastering your emotions, how to feel what you want, when you want. Are you ready to learn how to control your inner state instead of letting it control you? Have you ever felt like your emotions control you? One moment you're happy, then one small thing happens, and suddenly you're frustrated, sad, or angry. Tony Robbins says something powerful here. The truth is, you are not your emotions, you create them. Your emotions are signals, not commands. They're there to guide you, not to control you. And once you understand their message, you gain the ultimate power, emotional mastery. Tony explains that emotions drive every decision you make. You don't buy something because of logic. You buy because of emotion. You don't quit or stay because of reason. You do it because of how you feel. So, if you can learn to master your emotions instead of letting them master you, you'll instantly gain control over your decisions, your relationships, and your destiny. He says, the quality of your life is the quality of your emotions, meaning your experiences don't define your happiness. How you feel about those experiences does. Most people think emotions are good or bad. Happiness equals good. Anger or fear equals bad. But Tony says, every emotion, even the painful ones, has a message. They're feedback from your subconscious, telling you that something needs attention or change. For example, fear tells you to prepare. Anger tells you your boundaries are being crossed. Frustration tells you you're close to a breakthrough. Sadness reminds you to value what you've lost. Once you decode the message, you can act, and your emotion will fade. But if you ignore or suppress it, it grows stronger. When emotions hit hard, most people just say, I'm upset. But that's too general. Tony says, clarity is power. Are you really angry or disappointed? Are you hurt or just feeling ignored? Are you anxious or excited but uncertain? By naming your emotion precisely, you instantly begin to regain control over it. Words matter because the label you use becomes the emotion you feel. Call it, I'm stressed, and you'll feel tense. Call it, I'm challenged, and suddenly you'll feel focused. This sounds strange, but Tony says it's powerful. When you feel a painful emotion, don't resist it. Take a deep breath and say to yourself, thank you. You're trying to help me. Because emotions aren't your enemies. They're signals that something important needs attention, and by appreciating them, you calm the inner storm. That moment of gratitude breaks the automatic emotional pattern and opens the door to logical thinking again. Once you've identified and accepted the feeling, ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to tell me? What do I need to do right now to change this situation? What can I learn from this? For example, if you feel frustrated, maybe your mind is telling you to change your approach. If you feel hurt, maybe you expected something that wasn't communicated. If you feel guilt, maybe your action went against your values, and it's time to realign. Emotions aren't punishments. They're guidance systems, like GPS signals for your inner world. Tony says most people get trapped in emotion because they believe they can't change it. But remember this truth. You've already handled similar emotions before, and you survived. Think about it. You felt pain, sadness, disappointment in the past, and yet, you're still here, stronger than before. So when a new emotion hits, tell yourself, I've dealt with this before. I can deal with it again. Confidence kills fear, and certainty melts emotional chaos into clarity. Once you understand the emotion's message, you must act. Otherwise, it will repeat. If you're lonely, call a friend or connect with someone. If you're guilty, make things right. If you're angry, communicate your boundaries calmly. If you're fearful, prepare or learn more. Action transforms emotion into energy. That's why Tony says, emotion is created by motion. Even a small physical change, like standing tall, breathing deeply, or smiling, can shift your emotional state instantly. Tony teaches that emotional mastery isn't about never feeling bad. It's about not getting stuck there. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Every emotion is either a call to appreciate what you have, or a call to make a change. And when you start treating emotions as signals instead of storms, your inner power awakens. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop surviving and start leading your life consciously. Tony also talks about how your emotional vocabulary defines your world. If you only use a few intense words like furious, depressed, or miserable, your brain will feel those states more often. But if you replace them with softer or empowering words like annoyed instead of furious, or a bit concerned instead of worried, your emotional experience shifts dramatically. He calls this transformational vocabulary. Change your words, and you'll change your feelings instantly. You're not your emotions, you create them. Every emotion has a message. Learn to decode it, identify it, appreciate it, get curious, build confidence, and take action. Change your emotional vocabulary to change your experience. Emotional mastery isn't about avoiding pain, it's about learning from it. When you master your emotions, you master your life. Now that you've learned how to control your emotions, what if you could use that same emotional energy to build unstoppable momentum toward your dreams? In the next chapter, Tony reveals how to create lasting motivation, not the kind that fades after a few days, but the kind that keeps you moving no matter what happens. So here's the big question. How can you turn emotional energy into unstoppable action that never dies out? Pause for a moment. What if everything you believed about yourself, your limits, your talents, your worth wasn't true? Tony Robbins says something life-changing here. Beliefs have the power to create and the power to destroy. They're like invisible forces shaping every decision you make. If you believe you can, you find a way. If you believe you can't, you find an excuse. This chapter is all about one thing: how to build beliefs that make you unstoppable. Tony says, a belief is just a feeling of certainty about something. It's not always based on truth. It's based on what you've repeated to yourself enough times that your brain accepts it as reality. Example: a child who's told, "You're amazing," grows up confident. A child who's told, "You're useless," may grow up fearful or hesitant, even if both have equal potential. So beliefs aren't facts. They're meanings we've attached to past experiences. And here's the good news. You can change those meanings at any time. Tony gives a simple metaphor. Imagine your belief as a tabletop. Each experience or memory that supports that belief is like a table leg. If you believe I'm not good enough, that belief stands on legs: old failures, rejections, or criticism. But if you start gathering new legs, like achievements, compliments, or wins, the old table gets weaker. And eventually, you can replace the entire table with a new one that says, "I am capable, powerful, and growing every day." Tony divides beliefs into two types. Limiting beliefs, these hold you back. Examples: I'm not smart enough. Success is only for lucky people. I always fail. Empowering beliefs, these drive you forward. Examples: there's always a way if I'm committed. Failure is just feedback. Every challenge makes me stronger. The key to transformation is simple. Identify your limiting beliefs and replace them with empowering ones. Beliefs are created by interpretation, not by events. For example, two people face failure. One says, "I'm useless." The other says, "I just learned something valuable." Same event, different belief, different future. Tony reminds us that events don't shape our lives. The meaning we attach to those events does. So if you want to change your life, change what things mean to you. Tony gives a simple 3-step process to destroy limiting beliefs. Step 1. Question its validity. Ask, is this belief absolutely true? Where did I learn this? Is it based on facts or fear? Most of the time, you'll realize the belief came from a single moment. Maybe something someone said when you were young. It's not truth. It's just an old memory. Step 2. Find the pain behind it. Tony says you must attach massive pain to your old belief. Ask yourself, What has believing this cost me? Happiness, relationships, opportunities. When your brain associates pain with the old belief, it will start rejecting it automatically. Step 3. Replace it with a new, empowering belief. Now build a new one and give it evidence. Say to yourself daily, I am capable. I am creative. I find solutions. Then take small actions to prove it true. Beliefs grow stronger through repetition and experience. Tony calls your past experiences references. He says, the more positive references you collect, the stronger your empowering beliefs become. So each time you succeed, even in something small, celebrate it. Write it down. Feel proud, because that moment becomes fuel for your future confidence. Your mind builds momentum from what it celebrates. Tony shares a process called belief reinforcement. Decide what you want to believe, e.g., I can always find a way. Condition it daily through affirmations, visualization, and repetition. Act in alignment with it. Even when you're afraid, celebrate every time it proves true. Over time, your new belief becomes your new identity. And once your identity changes, your actions follow automatically. Beliefs don't change through logic, they change through emotion. That's why one emotional event can rewrite years of self-doubt. When you feel something strongly, when you connect massive pleasure with a new belief or massive pain with an old one, your subconscious rewires instantly. That's the secret behind real transformation. Tony once helped a woman who believed she could never lose weight. He asked her where that belief came from. She said, "My mom always told me our family is just big-boned." Tony helped her see that was just a story, not a fact. When she replaced that belief with, "My body can change when I decide to," her habits transformed overnight. Months later, she didn't just lose weight. She gained self-respect. It all started with one shift, a new belief. Beliefs shape your reality. They decide what's possible for you. Limiting beliefs come from the past, but they're not truth. You can break them by questioning, linking pain to them, and replacing them with empowering beliefs. Emotion and repetition make new beliefs stick. Once you change your beliefs, your destiny changes automatically. Tony says it best. The only thing keeping you from what you want is the story you keep telling yourself. Now that you've learned how to master your beliefs, what if I told you that even stronger than belief is your value system? The invisible set of rules that decide what makes you happy, sad, proud, or guilty. In the next chapter, Tony reveals how to discover and redesign your personal values, so your mind and emotions finally work together instead of against you. Have you ever done everything right, yet still felt unhappy or unfulfilled? You reached your goals, but something still felt missing? Tony Robbins says that's because success without fulfillment is failure in disguise. And the reason behind that emptiness isn't your goals, it's your values and rules. He says, values are your personal compass. They determine every decision you make and every emotion you feel. Values are simply the emotional states you want to experience, the feelings that matter most to you in life. For some people, it's love, freedom, or success. For others, it's security, comfort, or adventure. These values silently guide everything you do. They decide what you focus on, what you chase, and what you avoid, even when you're not aware of it. Think of them like an invisible GPS system for your soul. Tony divides values into two powerful categories. Moving toward values, the feelings you want to experience. Examples: love, joy, passion, freedom, growth, success. Moving away values, the feelings you want to avoid. Examples: rejection, failure, pain, loneliness, humiliation. Together, these two lists control every choice you make, even the smallest ones. If you value freedom but fear rejection, you'll always struggle between expressing yourself and worrying about what others think. And that's where inner conflict begins. Tony explains that most people never consciously design their values. They inherit them from parents, culture, religion, or past experiences. so your current values might not even be yours. Example, you might say you value success, but deep down, you fear failure more. So your moving away value, fear of failure, will stop you every time you get close to success. That's why people often feel stuck, because their values fight each other. Grab a notebook and list the top emotions you want most in life. You're moving toward values. Then list the emotions you most want to avoid. You're moving away values. Tony says this simple exercise can change your life. For example, moving toward love, freedom, success, growth. Moving away failure, rejection, loneliness, pain. Now ask yourself, do these two lists conflict? If they do, your brain is running two opposite programs at the same time. Tony teaches that to create lasting happiness, you must consciously choose values that empower you, not trap you. Ask yourself, what do I truly want to feel every day? Which emotions make me my best self? Which emotions stop me from living fully? Then reorder your list. Put empowering emotions like love, gratitude, growth, contribution at the top, and reduce the emotional power of fear-based values like security or comfort, because comfort rarely leads to greatness. Here's where it gets deeper. Tony says, even if you have the right values, your rules might still make you miserable. Your rules are the conditions you set for feeling good or bad. For example, I'll feel successful only when I earn $10 million. I'll feel loved only when everyone approves of me. Can you see the problem? These rules make happiness almost impossible because they depend on things you can't control. But if you flip them, I feel successful every time I grow or learn. I feel loved every time I give love. Now, happiness becomes something you control, not the world. Tony says happy people have simple rules for joy and complex rules for pain. Unhappy people do the opposite. For example, a happy person might say, I feel good when I do my best. An unhappy person might say, I'll feel good only when everyone likes me and everything goes perfectly. So rewrite your rules to make happiness easier to achieve and pain harder to trigger. Life changes not when you get new goals, but when you change the meaning of what success and happiness mean to you. Tony once coached a successful businessman who had everything, money, fame, respect, but still felt miserable. When they dug deeper, Tony discovered his rule for happiness was, I can only feel happy when my company grows by 20% every quarter. No wonder he was always stressed. Tony helped him change that rule to, I feel happy whenever I know I'm giving my best and helping others grow. Within weeks, his entire mood changed. Not because life changed, but because his rules did. If you want to be happy, make happiness a decision, not a condition. That means, decide to feel good now, not later. You don't need to wait for success, love, or recognition. You can feel fulfilled the moment you decide to align your values and simplify your rules. That's the real freedom Tony talks about. Emotional independence. Values are the emotions you want or want to avoid. They control every decision you make. Most people's values conflict because they're not consciously chosen. Rewrite your values and rules to make happiness easy and guilt, fear, or pain harder to trigger. Redefine success and love on your own terms, not the world's. Once your values are aligned, your heart, mind, and actions finally move in the same direction. Now that you've discovered how values and rules secretly control your life, what if there's something even more powerful than values? Something that gives your life direction, passion, and meaning every single day. In the next chapter, Tony reveals the force that drives every human being on Earth, your identity and life purpose. Think about this for a second. What truly defines you? Your job, your past, your habits, your dreams? Tony Robbins says something that can change your life instantly. The strongest force in the human personality is the need to stay consistent with how we define ourselves. That means, once you decide who you are, your mind, emotions, and actions will do everything possible to stay in alignment with that identity, whether it's empowering or destructive. So the real question is, Who have you decided to be? Tony explains that identity is like the master filter of your life. It determines what you believe is possible, how you behave under pressure, how much you allow yourself to achieve. For example, if you see yourself as a shy person, you'll naturally avoid opportunities to speak up. If you see yourself as a leader, you'll find ways to lead, even without trying. Your identity becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. He says, you can't act in a way that's inconsistent with who you think you are. That's why so many people fail to change. They're trying to change behavior without changing identity. Most people's identities are built from the past, experiences, mistakes, opinions of others. Someone fails a few times and decides, I'm not good enough. Someone gets hurt in love and decides, I'm unlovable. But Tony reminds us, those are not truths, they're decisions. And any decision you made long ago can be replaced with a new one today. You are not your past. You are what you choose to become now. Tony says, if you want to change your life, you must change your identity, the story you tell about who you are. Here's a simple truth. Your story shapes your state. Your state shapes your decisions. And your decisions shape your destiny. So if your current story says, I'm stuck, I'm unlucky, or I'm not smart enough, you'll live inside the cage forever. But the moment you rewrite your story, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm becoming unstoppable, your mind starts creating evidence to make it true. Your life always follows the story you tell yourself most often. Tony gives a step-by-step way to build a new, powerful sense of self. Step 1. Decide who you want to be. Ask yourself, what kind of person would I need to become to live my dream life? What qualities would I need to embody daily? Don't wait for proof. Choose the identity first. Step 2. Reinforce it daily. Condition your mind with consistent repetition and emotion. Say it, visualize it, act on it. If you say, I'm disciplined, then follow through, even on small promises. Every small win is proof that strengthens your new identity. Step 3. Surround yourself with reinforcement. People, environments, and habits all shape who you believe you are. So spend time with those who reflect the person you want to be, not the one you're trying to outgrow. Many people spend years trying to find themselves. Tony says, you don't find yourself, you create yourself. Your identity is not something to discover, it's something to design. He says, the moment you decide who you are, everything changes. If you decide you're a leader, you'll act differently. If you decide you're disciplined, your behavior will match. And if you decide you're unstoppable, life will start testing you until that identity becomes real. Your identity is not fixed. It's like a muscle. It grows as you challenge it. Every time you push beyond your limits, you expand your identity. You go from I can't to I did. And once you experience that, your sense of self never returns to its old size. Tony calls this identity expansion. The process of continually outgrowing your old self and stepping into a bigger version of who you can be. That's how true confidence and freedom are built. Tony says, when your identity expands, your entire world expands with it. You stop being the victim of your circumstances and become the creator of your life. You realize you were never broken. You were just living with a small definition of yourself. And that definition is yours to rewrite, because who you think you are is exactly who you will become. Your identity is the strongest force in your personality. You always act in alignment with who you believe you are. You can't change your life permanently until you change your identity. Redefine yourself consciously. Decide who you want to be, reinforce it daily, and live it through action. Expansion happens when you outgrow your old identity and step into your higher self. Tony's truth is simple but life-changing. Change your story, and you'll change your life. Now that you've learned how to rewrite your identity, what if you could design your entire destiny, your life's direction, purpose, and ultimate meaning with complete clarity? In the next chapter, Tony reveals how to create a personal life mission, A vision so powerful that it pulls you toward your dreams instead of you chasing them. Imagine waking up every morning with a fire inside you, a sense of direction so clear, so powerful, that nothing can shake your focus. That's what Tony Robbins calls designing your destiny, because life doesn't happen to you. It happens for you once you take control. He says, goals are like magnets. They pull you toward your destiny. But to reach your destiny, you must first decide, what kind of destiny do you truly want? Tony believes that every human being needs a future that inspires them, a dream that's bigger than their fears. Because without a clear future, people drift, they get busy, they get tired, but deep inside, they feel lost. He says, if you have a big enough why, you can handle any habit. That means, if you know why you want something, your mind will always find a way to make it happen. But when your why is weak, your motivation dies fast. Tony reminds us that destiny isn't something we discover by luck, it's something we design. And the first step is clarity. You can't hit a target you can't see. So he asks, what do you truly want from life? What kind of person do you want to become? What will give your life a deep sense of meaning? When you answer those questions honestly, you start shaping the map of your destiny. Tony gives us a clear and practical path to start living with purpose. Step 1. Define what you really want. Most people know what they don't want. I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to fail. But Tony says, the secret is to focus on what you do want. Clarity equals power. Write down what your ideal life looks like, emotionally, financially, physically, and spiritually. Step 2. Find your core purpose. Ask yourself, what would truly fulfill me? What impact do I want to make? Purpose gives meaning to pain. When you have a powerful reason behind your actions, even obstacles feel like stepping stones. Step 3. Set goals that excite you. Tony says goals must be specific and emotionally charged. A goal should make you jump out of bed in the morning. Not because you have to, but because you want to. Make them vivid. Imagine them daily. Your brain moves toward what it constantly focuses on. Step 4. Take massive, consistent action. Dreams without action are illusions. Tony says, it's not what we do once in a while that shapes our lives, but what we do consistently. Even small steps, when repeated daily, can build an extraordinary future. Tony explains that destiny is not a single moment. It's a lifetime of decisions. Every choice you make either strengthens or weakens your destiny. And destiny always favors the decisive. People who know what they want and commit to it, no matter how long it takes. He says, it is in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. That one line sums up the entire chapter. Because your destiny doesn't change overnight. It changes the moment you decide to take control. Tony shares that people who live with purpose have an unstoppable energy. They don't rely on motivation. They rely on meaning. When your purpose is bigger than yourself, when your goals are about growth, contribution, and impact, you feel alive every single day. You don't wait for permission. You don't wait for perfect timing. You create it. That's how leaders, dreamers, and creators shape history. Not by luck, but by design. Tony Robbins reminds us, the purpose of life is not to be happy. The purpose of life is to grow, to give, to make a difference. Happiness is the result of living with meaning. When you align your goals with your purpose, you feel an unshakable sense of fulfillment. No matter what happens around you, you can design your destiny through conscious choices and clear goals. A compelling future gives you power and direction. Destiny is built through clarity, purpose, and consistent action. Every decision you make is a step toward or away from your dreams. Your purpose is your ultimate source of energy and fulfillment. Tony says it best. You are the architect of your destiny. Every thought and action is a brick. Build wisely. Now that you know how to design your destiny, what if I told you there's an invisible force that controls every decision you make, even before you realize it? In the next chapter, Tony reveals how your belief systems silently shape your success or failure, and how to reprogram them to create a life of limitless power. Have you ever wondered why two people can face the same problem, and one gives up, while the other becomes unstoppable? It's not luck. It's not talent. It's belief. Tony Robbins says, beliefs have the power to create and the power to destroy. Because what you believe becomes your reality, even if it's not true. Tony explains that a belief is nothing more than a feeling of certainty about something. If you believe you're confident, you'll act confident. If you believe you're unlucky, you'll find proof everywhere that life is unfair. Your beliefs shape how you see, think, and act. And over time, they become your truth. But here's the shocking part. Most of your beliefs were never chosen by you. They were given to you by parents, friends, society, or past experiences. And now, they run your life silently. Tony says beliefs are like a pair of glasses. They color everything you see. If your lenses are scratched, the world will always look broken. But the truth is, it's not the world that's broken, it's your perspective. For example, if you believe I'm not smart enough, you'll avoid challenges. If you believe I always figure things out, you'll take action until you win. Your beliefs are your inner compass. They guide your emotions, actions, and destiny, even when you're not aware of them. Tony breaks down beliefs into 3 powerful levels. 1. Opinions, light and easy to change. Example, I think this idea might work. 2. Beliefs, stronger and backed by experience. Example, I believe hard work pays off. 3. Convictions, unshakable emotional truths. Example, no matter what happens, I will never give up. Convictions drive destiny. They make people move mountains or live in cages. So the question is, what convictions are driving your life right now? Tony says every belief begins with a reference, an experience, memory, or piece of information you give meaning to. If something happens repeatedly, your brain links emotion to it, and that becomes your truth. Example, you try something new, fail once, and decide I'm not good at this. But another person fails and says, this is how I'll learn. Same event, different beliefs. Different beliefs, different life. Tony gives a clear system to destroy limiting beliefs and replace them with empowering ones. Step 1. Identify the limiting belief. Ask yourself, what's stopping me? What belief is holding me back right now? Maybe it's, I'm not confident. I always fail. I don't deserve success. Write it down. Make it real. Step 2. Challenge its power. Ask, is this belief based on truth or fear? What evidence do I have that it's absolutely true? Usually none. Tony says most beliefs collapse the moment you question them with logic and courage. Step 3. Create a new empowering belief. Replace the old belief with one that serves your growth. For example, I'm not confident. Confidence is a skill, and I can build it every day. I always fail. Every failure is training for success. Repeat it, feel it, live it. Your brain will start believing whatever you emotionally reinforce. Tony connects this to the brain's conditioning system. Every time you visualize or emotionally experience a belief, your neurons build stronger connections. That's why he says, repetition and emotion create belief. So the more often you feel something good or bad, the deeper it goes into your subconscious. Want to change a belief? Feed your mind with new emotional experiences every single day. Tony encourages us to adopt beliefs that make us stronger, like, everything happens for a reason and serves me. There's always a way if I'm committed. Failure is the pathway to mastery. The past does not equal the future. These beliefs don't just sound good. They reshape your mindset. They make you unstoppable when life tests you, because belief is the seed of destiny. And once you believe something deeply enough, your mind and body will do whatever it takes to make it real. Tony Robbins says, if you want to change your life, change your beliefs. Every transformation, physical, emotional, financial, or spiritual, begins with a shift in belief. Beliefs are the software of your mind, and the moment you upgrade your software, your whole life starts running differently. Beliefs are feelings of certainty that shape your behavior and destiny. Most of your beliefs were programmed by others, but you can reprogram them anytime. To change your life, you must first challenge and rewrite limiting beliefs. New empowering beliefs come from repetition, emotion, and new experiences. Beliefs can either destroy you or make you unstoppable. The choice is yours. Tony sums it up perfectly. The only thing keeping you from what you want is the story you keep telling yourself. Tony Robbins begins this final message with a truth that hits deep. The giant you seek is not somewhere out there. It's been inside you all along. Every dream, every ounce of strength, every moment of courage, it's already within you. You just need to wake it up. Tony says that most people live their entire lives never realizing the incredible power they hold within. They settle for average, not because they are weak, but because they've forgotten who they truly are. They let fear, doubt, and habits control them until they start believing that this is just the way life is. But Tony reminds us, your life is a direct reflection of the standards you hold for yourself. If you raise your standards, if you decide that enough is enough, your life will never be the same again, because that decision, that inner fire, awakens the giant within you. Throughout this book, Tony took us on a journey from understanding our emotions and beliefs to mastering decisions, purpose, and destiny. He taught us that change doesn't happen by luck. It happens the moment you decide to take control of three key forces: your focus, what you choose to pay attention to; your meaning, the story you attach to your experiences; your action, what you do about it. These three forces shape everything: your happiness, your relationships, your health, your success. Change any one of them, and your entire life transforms. Tony says, it is in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. Every great life began with one bold decision: to stop living in fear, to rise after failure, to demand more from oneself. That's how the giant within wakes up. Not through motivation, but through commitment. You don't wait for the perfect time. You decide, and that decision changes everything. Tony believes that true power is self-mastery. When you control your emotions, beliefs, and focus, you control your destiny. He says, success is not about resources. It's about resourcefulness. You can lose money, friends, or opportunities, but if you've awakened your inner strength, you can rebuild everything. Because the giant within is not external power. It's emotional power, mental power, spiritual power. It's the voice that says, I will rise again. Even when everything falls apart. In the end, Tony reveals the ultimate purpose of awakening the giant: to contribute. Because real fulfillment doesn't come from getting more. It comes from giving more. When you use your strength, wisdom, and love to help others, you feel a joy that success alone can't give. He says, only those who have learned the power of sincere and selfless contribution experience life's deepest joy. The awakened giant doesn't just change their own life. They become a light for others, a leader, a giver, a force for good. Tony leaves us with one powerful challenge: live with passion, not with fear, not with hesitation, but with full intensity, mind, heart, and soul. Because you were never meant to live a small life. You were meant to create, grow, love, and lead. You were meant to awaken your giant, the version of you that is unstoppable, unbreakable, and unafraid. The giant represents your unlimited potential, courage, confidence, love, and strength. Most people stay asleep because of fear and self-doubt. You awaken the giant by raising your standards, mastering your emotions, and taking bold decisions. True fulfillment comes not from achievement alone, but from contribution. The power to change your life was always inside you, waiting for you to claim it. Tony Robbins' message is crystal clear. Decide who you are, commit to what you want, and live with passion. You don't need to wait for permission. You don't need the perfect moment. You already have everything you need, right now inside you. The question is, will you keep the giant sleeping, or will you finally wake it up? And that was Tony Robbins' timeless message, that the power to change your life doesn't lie in your past or in your circumstances. It lies in you, inside every one of us. There's a sleeping giant, waiting for the day we decide to rise. Not someday, but today. Because real freedom isn't found in luck, money, or motivation. It's found in the moment you take control of your mind, emotions, and destiny. So ask yourself, what if today was the day you stopped doubting yourself and started living like the person you were born to be? If this message lit even a small spark inside you, don't let it fade. Feed it, grow it, act on it, because every giant begins with one decision: to never live small again. If you found this video powerful, drop in the comments, share it with someone who needs to awaken their giant, and hit that subscribe button, because this is just the beginning. The next journey will take you beyond motivation into transformation. So stay tuned and remember Tony's words: